Can you hear the music?
I can hear it.
Man, not everybody can hear the music. That's so amazing that you can hear it.
That's a big one.
I love it. I love this. Great.
It could be like a wrestling walkout.
Oh, like, oh, we're gonna get it. Hold on, look. Like, I don't understand wrestling. Okay, like grown men that don't wear pants fighting for a belt. What is that?
And then people like me who watched it my whole life pay to go sit for 4 hours for WrestleMania and then learn their acting, and you still go and still pay.
Right.
It's entertaining.
I think it was SmackDown. I took my uncle like 20 years ago to see SmackDown.
Yeah.
The Edge was just coming back. You know, he's coming back from like a hiatus or whatever, and that's all I remember. I never watched wrestling. I went because my uncle liked it, and it was his birthday.
Loved as a kid. Now I have a brother that I've brought to WrestleMania. 8 hours of my life I'll never get back at the Superdome.
It's like watching fucking NASCAR.
Ronda Rousey pretend to fight. It was very intriguing.
All right, welcome back to another episode of On the Throne with Dick. Shout out to Senjin Boychuk, man, for that incredible intro outro. I'm never ever gonna stop saying it. People have been like, "Hey, man, you need to stop talking about it. It's been almost 2 years. You need to stop saying that. Stop shouting the guy out." I'm never gonna do it. He has, written me this incredible outro music, and I appreciate it, and I love him, and I don't even know how I would introduce this show without that at the beginning anymore. I just don't know how I would do it. I got to practice it maybe. So shout out to him. Find him on the socials. And this week on the podcast, man, I'm so excited, after, chatting with Jada on her podcast a couple weeks ago, and she told me all about you. I'm so excited to talk to the Mockingbird herself, like Leigh Haas.
Yes.
Or Haas or Halls.
Depends on how much money you have and what industry you're in.
How's it going?
It's good. I'm excited to be here. I'm really appreciative of Jada. She's a great industry connector and sees that, where some of us need to meet. And now we're talking on a live podcast, an unscripted one, as a company I just started. So you're the proof in the pudding, I guess.
You know what's crazy about that? I met Jada through, I don't know if you know who Rena is.
Mm-mm.
Rena, so Rena has her own podcast, Better Call Daddy. And so I met Rena through, I don't know, some other, it was weird. I can't remember who I was talking to. I was talking to some random folks on the internet. Like, have you heard of Rena? Well, no. So then, I didn't know anything about Rena. This is a blue collar podcast. And, I didn't know who she was, but it said she was a junior executive or whatever on the Jerry Springer show. And I'm like, cool. She's got a podcast.
I'm bought.
Turns out she worked in oil and gas. Her husband worked in oil and gas. She worked for the OGGN for a little bit. She hooked me up with Jada and Mark and a bunch of other people. So I got talking to Jada. Then I got on Jada's podcast. And then Jada told me about you. So, speaking of connecting, you know what I mean? Like,
it's all about relationships, man.
I love that. That's pretty much how I've lived like my entire life, thinking back to it, high school, middle school era, like I network, right? I didn't fit in with the jocks, and I didn't fit in with the nerds, or I didn't fit in with the band geeks or the goths or anything like that. I just was, right? And I would implement myself in every single one of their circles. I'd be like, hey, what's going on, man? How's it going today? What's happening? Right. And so, I do that here now. I do it on site when I'm on site. I implement myself. I network with all the services on site. I want to know what they do. I want to know how much they make. I want to, if I'm going to be oil and gas, I can't just be one thing in oil and gas, right? I gotta be all of it, right? I am oil and gas.
These are pain points that, you're holding up a mirror to somebody who understands exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And I've used the podcast the same way, as a guy who's like to network, being on social media in the oil and gas niche or blue collar niche in general, right?
Yeah. That's a voice to the industry.
Yeah. And then, reading your profile on LinkedIn,
I love to think about that, because that's all from like journals I'd love to know what a male on a media outlet thinks of that stuff.
So it's actually pretty interesting, right? Because when Jada told me about you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Immediately I was like, yeah, I'm in. I don't care. I don't need to know about her. I don't care. Just, I want to talk, right?
Okay.
So after looking at your LinkedIn, I went down your LinkedIn and like you're really well spoken even in text, right? Like, the long paragraphs. I loved your middle seat post.
That's real life. This is all true stuff I cannot make up. Like there's no content creation. This is like it. If I don't write it out, it seems like it's make believe because it's too much to.
Yeah.
Magnolia and the Mockingbird. I was like, oh my God, this doped up dad just summed up my whole life.
Yeah, and he was half asleep, right? And reading about other things, how you met the guy that got you into politics and whatnot, and you both ended up in oil and gas. Like those are all like stories, that are pretty incredible that make you who you are, and I think that's fascinating. I think you're really well spoken even in text and just talking to you. It's pretty interesting, and these are the kinds of people I love to get to know, right? And that's why the whole podcast thing is here, right? That's why it works.
And I had no idea about the avenue with the podcast until this past year. And one of the things I was trying to explain to people is even though technology is advancing so strongly, the podcast pioneers are bringing the human aspect back to the industry.
Amen to that.
That's just my thought on the whole thing.
Yeah, I like to take controversial figures too, right? And we'll get into what they are controversial about, but like we talk about like the human side to them, like you just said, right? Like Chris Barber, like the guy is facing jail time for protesting in Ottawa against lockdowns and all this other shit that was happening in Canada, and he and a few others, they convoyed to the Capitol and they parked their trucks in the middle of the street for 3 weeks, and they sat there, right? And the government froze their bank accounts and whatnot and everything, right? And so you might have heard about the convoys in Canada like 2 or 3 years
ago. I was just trying to figure out if this guy ever protested on a project I worked on.
Maybe, who knows? But he
put that on the podcast, the opposite ends.
I had him on the podcast twice, right? And we're about to find out the verdict of that. Actually, they dragged it out, and the verdict is coming up here. But
is he made for prison? You think he'll be okay if he gets?
Oh, he's a big guy. We talked about that on the podcast.
Is he cute? Like, could he be a?
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah,
pretty for prison, or
he'll run shit in prison for sure.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to prison though. So.
Gotcha. I'm too pretty for prison. It's a Miranda Lambert song, and I'm dead set I'll be crying in a corner.
Right.
My way out of it.
Yeah, I don't think I could do prison. I'm 5'4", and
really, I'm 5'9".
Yeah, I'm 5'4", and I got a big mouth. I like to run my mouth a lot, right? Yeah. I think I would have to learn how to not run my mouth in prison. But like maybe my mouth makes me
a chameleon. Can adapt to any sector. Who knew? Who knows? Not gonna cancel it out. Might be a mob boss one day.
Oh man, I would absolutely love that. I'm watching Mobland on TV right now. Incredible show. I think I could do it.
I mean, I have this whole alternative business structure with the Mockingbird Mafia. It's an actual thing with the Isle of Misfit Toys, which is a thing. It's not like a make-believe, it's not a real island, but it's a infrastructure. And it's like, so if I ever got the balls to really dive into how this all came up, I've got a mafia built from like all my favorite like authoritarian disruptors, like Sons of Anarchy, Joan of Arc.
Yeah. Let's hear it. How did you?
Oh, no, I cannot.
I was gonna ask. How'd you get Mockingbird? What made you start? Like, where did you start from, and how'd you get into this line of work?
The hardest thing to do right now is summarize this into for some people that don't know me, because it's hard to explain. But I'll start with I graduated with a degree, a master's in political science. I think my leadership skills were being built from birth as the oldest daughter of 5 kids.
Oh yeah.
I was negotiating with Twinkies and baseballs. And, I've got 4 siblings, all younger than me. One's 17-year-old high schooler born on my birthday, my 20th birthday.
Oof.
So my mom was 46, Catholics. But so I've got them from, I'm 37, 31, 28, 24, 17.
Wow. Good for you. And I thought the gap between my youngest sister and me was big. It's 10 years, right?
Yeah.
That was big. That's why we're recording this in an Airbnb right now. I'm in Ontario near Toronto.
Yeah.
I'm from way west and way north. I'm from here, but I live up there, and we're here for her wedding right now. So, she's my little baby.
You got to see your mom.
I got to see my mom for the first time in 4 years. We hung out. My mom's
Amazing.
Old, man. Holy shit.
Old.
She's not old. She's only 61, right? So
yeah, my mom too, but my mom's got a high schooler.
yeah. I got to meet, this is a kissing babies trip, right? Like I got to meet my the oldest of my younger sisters. I got to meet her kid. I got to meet my stepsister's kid. I get today actually. We're going to meet my sister, my wife. My wife found out 4 years ago that she has a sister who's 8 days younger than her.
Whoa.
Right?
How'd that happen?
Well,
you didn't talk about that story.
Well, yeah. And she's got 3 kids, and so I get to meet them. My wife has met her sister. She's come back a lot.
Whole family existed you didn't know about.
Right. My wife comes back a lot more than I do.
A family reunion on steroids.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting actually. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so this is a kissing baby strip, right? I got to be very careful how I say that too, right? A lot of people have taken that.
Don't shake the babies and kiss the hands. It's the other way around.
Shake the babies, kiss the hands?
I said, don't shake the babies and kiss the hands. Don't get them mixed up.
Oh man. I mean, if they start crying, I can't handle or promise what I'm going to do.
Just remember, you're schmoozing the leaders, and don't shake the babies on accident. That was actually a job description bullet point once that somebody gave me. Leigh is in charge of the kissing babies and shaking hands. And that was, I guess, trying to summarize what I was supposed to be doing there.
Nice. I love that. I love what your job title is. I've read it on LinkedIn there. You're sort of like, I don't know if you've seen the show Scandal with Kerry Washington. You're sort of the Olivia,
but not sleeping with the president.
I mean, right? There's a little bit of sleeping with the president going on, right?
I mean, sort of, but not. That one's way cuter.
Actually, I had a dog name after Fitzgerald Grant once. His name was President Fitzgerald Grant. We just called him Fitz for short, like they do in the show. His name was Fitz, right? But he was black, so.
I have a dog named Rooster Cogburn.
Richard Cockburn?
Rooster Cogburn. Rooster John Cockburn. Wayne character.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So political sciences.
Yes. I graduated, went straight to the Mississippi State Capitol, working for the House of Representatives. And then I didn't like Jackson, but I learned about the legislative process in the gauntlet on the floor of the chamber with the people that are now running the state. It was, people like to hear about that experience because a lot of, people, they go from oil to politics. And I went the opposite way. I intentionally went into politics, then ran a congressional campaign for a 22-year congressman who was a Blue Dog Democrat who decided to switch parties during the Tea Party movement in the most conservative state in the union. He lost, and a land company out of New Orleans called me. Didn't know what right-of-way agents were or how, anything about this industry. Couldn't even spell acquisition without, spell check. And then I wound up scaling these land service companies from 90 to 400 and wrote their manuals and, was building myself up to be a, big player, and I was loyal, and then wound up figuring out it's not worth anything if somebody's got their name on it and you are being, intentionally erased from the documents you've drafted. So ironically, 3 land companies in 10 months did some shady shit. And a landman sent my resume to this human performance-based consulting company.
Time out. Was it Billy Bob Thornton?
No. Oh. These are the real dogs, the ones that, don't get me started on that either. We do not work with the cartel, but it would be a cool, chapter. So a landman sent my resume to the CEO, who these are 5 middle-aged white men from different branches of the military, from nuclear power. And they hired me to like sell this human performance stuff. I thought it was a sporting thing. I was like, I don't see the connection. 36-year-old female from Mississippi with a political science degree. You literally have somebody on your leadership team that wrote the nuclear safety manual for the international organization. But when you're that smart, you can't talk to people. He can, keep a reactor from melting down, but cannot hold a conversation with somebody. So they hired me to bring on the oil and gas clients. And after 3 land companies in 10 months, I was trying to get the hell out of Dodge. I didn't want to see oil and gas. I had done it for 10 years, 40 states, 200 energy companies, some from renewables to carbon capture to fiber optic. And I said, to hell with this. I'm out. Safety it is. I saw the gap. And I trained for like 6 months with people that wrote a literal book on human performance and had to sell it back to them before they'd even let me talk to people. Well, that just blew the lid off everything. So now I know how to be a leader because I know what not to do. And I'm trained in it. They just positioned me to get the blueprint on, the manual for, like, now I can tell somebody how they're being a shitty boss and then the science behind how to fix it. So it's just a weird full circle event.
You're like, you're being shitty. And before he can like counteract, be like, but the good news is I can help you not be shitty.
And I can draft the root cause analysis because I'm trained by the people that wrote the book about it. And so all that did was, each experience, I can now pinpoint how it's, it was awful, but it's positively shaped what this is and why this is happening, and down to like each action. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know what not to do.
Hell yeah.
And they tried to erase my name from the books, and now I've got a bird as a logo that sings for it's just and now people are giving me a microphone in a podcast interview. It's insane. I don't get it.
Yeah. You know what? Like, man, nobody thinks they're interesting. Nobody thinks that what they do has any significant impact. Nobody thinks that they have a story to tell, right?
My story is everybody's, Dick. That's the difference. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy because when I get to talking to people, and I did it at a strip club one time, right? Like, yeah. I don't, that's not my thing. It's not my scene.
I lived in New Orleans for 10 years and it's okay.
It's not my scene. My coworkers were going out. My wife's like, hey, you spend a lot of time on the internet being, antisocial on the social media, right?
Yeah.
Like, you need to get out and go do something. Go with the boys for the night. Go hang out. So I'm like, all right. So I went with them. And it was a Wednesday night, random Wednesday night,
Club on a Wednesday, turned up on a Tuesday kind of feel, but
yeah, right. So I go there, and her name was Miss BJ Worldwide, 2.5 million on the gram, So she's sitting there, naked in front of me, and I'm talking to her. I'm like, so how'd you get in this line of work? Where'd you start from? I'm podcasting the shit out of her.
Probably super smart, 2 degrees. Making money, probably got her college paid for.
Yeah.
And a nice rack. So it's like, damn.
Yeah, well, she's from Saskatchewan, right? I don't know if you know where Saskatchewan is, but like it's in Canada, it's the prairies. There's not a whole lot going on.
Is that the guy from Grown Ups that's in the bikini?
That it's Justin
That's the same
Timberlake
thing.
actually that says that.
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan, ladies.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
it.
yeah, they're talking about Saskatchewan, and so I'm talking to her, and I could tell, like, she was interested at first, right? But she's like, "Hey, if you ain't gonna pay me, and I ain't gonna do it, I gotta go over there where there are people that are gonna throw money at me. It's been great talking to you, And but like, yeah, I realized that was
the mentality I need.
Yeah, I was podcasting the shit out of her, right? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Just to a stripper, and it's just how I am. I like to ask the questions. I like to know about people, right? And
the why.
Yeah, the why. And yeah, there's a story with everyone. It's fascinating.
And now I've got a platform to share it, and people want to hear it, and that's what's the hardest part to conceptualize.
Yeah,
like I did it to journal, and then now people are like, you need to post more and more content. And I'm like, this is my life. Like, this isn't like some content creation strategy. I mean, y'all want the nitty gritty, I'll post it, but I might not have any job opportunities late after.
Well, so how many followers do you have on LinkedIn now?
About 10,000.
10,000 on LinkedIn.
If I could have I should have invested in LinkedIn before, because see, I was on it before it was cool. When you're a recruiter, that's people are like, how did you build your network? I was giving them jobs, so they were staying in touch with me. Then it became a platform.
Yeah. See, I'm on LinkedIn, and, I've grown the most after I talk to people like you from LinkedIn, right? And Jada and Rena, right? And, and Mark, and they tag me in these things, and then a bunch of these people just start following and liking, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Well, I'd love to know what your numbers do, if they do anything.
Yeah, they're all right. With the podcast, you mean? Like when?
Yeah, like if just to see.
I'll definitely tell you how it does, because this comes out this coming Tuesday, right? And
Mockingbird has over 200 followers already.
Who's that?
My business LinkedIn page, 200 followers, and it's in over 500 search appearances a week.
That's crazy. And how long has it been a thing? How long has it been a page?
A month.
Good for you. Yeah, no, I don't know. I found LinkedIn, I don't post on there as much as I should. I just use it for podcasts and stuff like that. Maybe I should just start talking randomly like you do, That's why
you cut out the curse word so people can repost it, I guess.
Yeah. Like, so you can't swear on LinkedIn?
No, but I mean, so in a full twist of events, the political, see, I talk in circles and I tell stories in them too. So
I love that. I love that.
Started in politics, shifted to energy, then to human performance. And the governor of Mississippi, who was the lieutenant governor for my first job out of grad school, just launched an energy initiative for leaders in the industry to come to the state that I named my company after, with the state bird. So I say all that to say,
District 12.
I've got to edit my cursing for the political idea. But it's wild. I mean, I'm still trying to understand all this. I just learned about it yesterday. The guy, I was at his inaugural ball. These were freshman representatives who are now the public service commissioners. And I haven't worked with them in over 15 years, but the relationships are still there.
Absolutely.
And now here I was packing my shit to move to Texas with a Mississippi-based company named after the state bird. And my biggest momentum could be the state I'm trying to move out of.
Hold on. The Mockingbird is actually legit the state bird of Mississippi.
Yeah. I'm a nerd. There's a whole manifesto behind this thing. It's actually the state bird of 5 states.
Really?
Which is also part of the whole story.
Is a mockingbird real?
Yes, it's a book, and you've never seen or heard a mockingbird?
I've heard of a mockingbird, but like they're fake. Oh, those are jabberjays. Jabberjays are
mockingbirds are the badasses that don't like. They died to protect their clan. They mimic what they hear.
Oh my God, is that why Katniss Everdeen was the mockingbird?
I don't Mockingjay, but kind of probably. I mean, this whole concept came from my historical nerdiness and my political background, my favorite book, To Kill a Mockingbird, which is a sin. And if you've ever read that book, I'm kind of blown away. You didn't know it was a real thing.
I've heard of To Kill a Mockingbird. I just didn't realize the mockingbird was real, right? Like I'm thinking
it's a
of
literal bird.
I'm thinking of,
and that's the point. It's a shared state icon that doesn't belong to any state, shared by 5, but, stands alone. And in the state that adopted it last, it was the most strategic and permanent decision Mississippi made. And then what do mockingbirds do? The real birds, they take what they hear and they sing it louder with their own tune to it. Like they can mimic car beepers and dogs barking. I'm really kind of blown away. You didn't know it was a real bird.
Well, in the Hunger Games, the mockingbird,
the mockingjay, but still, now I'm seeing that connection I never thought about.
Yeah. Katniss Everdeen was the mockingbird. She would die to protect her own.
Well, maybe I could just get Jennifer Lawrence to run this shit show.
Oh my God, I'm gonna go.
Or maybe I could write the Hunger Games of oil, because that's kind of how I feel.
Oh my, yeah.
Don't put a weapon in my hands. So anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of meaning behind it. Book I used to have to read as a summer reading turned out to be every value I've based my whole process on. Honesty, integrity, leadership. And what do you do? It's a sin to kill a mockingbird. That's the whole thing. And I told them, I was gonna take what I learned and turn it into something I could use on my own. I ate those words and didn't realize it was going to be for myself. I thought it was going to be for a competitor. And now it's full circle going back to the very industry it started in, Mississippi politics.
Crazy. Good for you.
And I'm just trying to process all this after a deep dive on the internet yesterday with the governor.
Wow. And like you've met with the governor, you're like friends with the governor, right?
I was at his re-election ball this past year.
Yeah.
Hardy is the performer. The country guy?
Yeah.
Looks like the guy from Ghost Hunters, but sings the country music.
I love that. No, that's incredible. This is fascinating to me, like politics. So I'm like try to avoid like the plague on the podcast and on my socials, right? Because especially right now in Canadian politics, it's a nasty, nasty time. And in American politics,
it's the foundation for everything I know.
It's true.
When you're thrown out of the frying pan into the fire, the gauntlet, ripping the Band-Aid off instantly in your 20s, how can you not handle the, everything else?
I read that you take power players from different sides and you connect them, you make them meet up and right. then they think like, yeah, we were doing this anyway, right?
Yeah.
Your right. thing says that, and let them think it's their idea, but really it's me.
All day, every day. And that's the thing, y'all don't even know the half of it, but one of my biggest strengths is being underestimated. It's like a secret weapon.
I love that. I love being underestimated.
I'm not the note taker. I'm writing your book, your manual, but please tell me how to build this transmission line. I got people preaching to me about how all the money's in electric utility. Well, I'm on a board for electric utilities in Texas as a Mississippian, but teach me, but I don't have to try to, humiliate people. I just let them think they're, the biggest dick in the room and go about my business.
Big dick swinging.
I mean, it's been my whole life in each industry. And I don't know if it's part female, part, I don't know what the reason is, but it's the strategizing how to leverage it is the skill.
You sound like you're very, very, very busy.
Yes. I've launched a company I didn't plan to ever build on the back of like a fight with the company that I was supposed to save me from everything. And they're talking about this being a female-owned turnkey. And I'm still trying to process that people are trying to position themselves with me. I'm talking $60 million survey companies are trying to partner with me. The people I helped companies build, they're calling land agents concerned about me. I'm like, I'm a person with an emotional support dog as my board of directors. And I don't know how to do taxes. I don't know how to double digit divide. I'm a political science major, for crying out loud. But I know the experts that can.
You're like the Dr. Dre of the oil and gas industry, you know?
It feels kind of like that.
You are. Like, he didn't plan to start, Aftermath. He didn't plan to start that. But, he started that on the back of an argument with Suge Knight. He's like, you know what? I'm starting.
That's what I need. I need to get more gangster, and maybe these people will start paying me.
Shit. Right?
I mean, we got Afro Man in Mississippi, but he's not very gangster.
Nah, Afro Man's too high. He don't care.
Yeah.
He's
way too politically, controversial.
Yeah, he's because I
can always go the biker route.
Okay, you got to get into that story. Okay, like you were talking about that. You wanted to hide that, and I'm like, no,
I've been instructed before, so it's just it's a personal, motivational thing, and it's but I try to keep it off camera until said, please, don't blur it out. So here I am.
What's the story behind this guy giving the middle finger?
So that's my dad's oldest brother. My dad is the baby of 6. My mom's the baby of 8.
Wow.
My dad is a polo shirt wearing, Sperry's whitest, hillbilly turned, what's that word I'm looking for? Prep. And his 2 older brothers. One was the president of a motorcycle gang,
club.
The Asgards.
They're motorcycle enthusiasts. I've seen SOA.
The Asgard Motorcycle Club, and he was my Uncle Big Dave. That's his name, not like this. And he's got like the mentality and the attitude that I need to remind myself of every now and then, especially sitting at my desk, battling all these different things one day at a time.
Yeah.
And then my other uncle, the middle uncle, owns the biker bar that's actually been on like ESPN, and it's got like its own 30 for 30 in Keelan, Mississippi, where I'm born and raised, home of Brett Favre. And I grew up, going to this biker bar, having to leave when the Hells Angels and the Bandito, what are they called? Banditos?
Banditos.
I'm gonna get killed for saying it wrong, but like this is a legit motorcycle gang. And then my Uncle Big Dave had a widowmaker heart attack and lived 8 years after. And he rode hard and he partied harder. And holding his hand when he died, I've discovered he has a tattoo on his arm of a Viking king getting a blowjob on a throne on his arm. While I'm holding his hand while he's dying, I realize that. And I'm like, I want to be that badass. Like, I don't want to put a Nordic god getting their dick sucked on my arm, but the balls to do that,
Yeah. No, that's badass, like.
And so when he died, I found this picture, and it's the Broke Spoke is the name of the bar. And I've got it blown up on a canvas to just remind me where I came from, who I am. And he lived 8 years after a widowmaker as a president of a motorcycle club.
Hell yeah. He's like Clay Morrow.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Clay Morrow, the real life Clay Morrow. Yeah, I love that. No, that's crazy. I don't know why anyone would not want you to show that, like this is a podcast.
People are not comfortable with things that they don't, the unfamiliar. I don't know. The guy from Mississippi.
It's a conversation piece.
Yeah.
Right? That's crazy. Like, so with how busy you are and stuff like that, are you married, have kids?
I'm single, no kids, never been married. And
it's living life for you, huh? Good for you.
Well, and now the dating scene is way worse, because when you're built in a company or in an industry negotiating with the Jedis of negotiating, it really fucks up your dating life. I mean, I can spot a bluff from a mile away. You can't fool me into like, and I can, I can pick out a salesperson, you know, in a heartbeat. So yeah, somehow I'm going to write something about how the land agents ruined my dating life.
My God, I want to read that. Okay, have you ever considered writing a book? Like taking what you've put on LinkedIn and putting it into a book? Like you could even call it that. You could be like, the land agents ruined my life, or how the land agents ruined my life.
I've got so many journal entries. If I could figure out how to streamline it with AI, somehow I'm the only person I know that can procrastinate effectively with ChatGPT. If I could figure out how to get all of it and merge it together, I've actually sent stuff to friends that are like, you've got to put this on TikTok. You've got to publish this. Yeah. I'm like, this is just my life. And you don't even know the personal part about the chaos. It all blends. And I started writing to get through it all. And my friends, they wouldn't bullshit me or like start doing Instagram posts and TikToks. And I'm like, I can't do what I'm doing now. But if I fail, I'm going to have a best-selling book.
Hell yeah, you are. Hey, it's because you fail that you succeed. Hey, I've seen that. I've seen that. It's not if you fail.
I have said that since Mockingbird became a thing. I'm like, even if I don't succeed at this, I'm going to have a best-selling book with, and it's funny and it's real life. You can't make this shit up. That's why it has to be a book. Otherwise, it's like, how is this real?
Hell yeah! You don't have TikTok at all, or
I do, but I don't know how to. I don't really post on it. I have one post I made with my friends, like 3-year-old. I've got guy friends, like a lineman who's got 70,000 followers. I tried to recruit a college kid or a high schooler to do it for me. They don't follow through either. There's no.
I'm thinking of One Sound, right? One Sound right now. It's like that Eminem sound. It's like, I don't care. God sent me to piss the world off, right? And like you could make that into a sound for you, like for the Mockingbird, like
I didn't mean to do that. This wasn't. That's what I try to explain to people. I didn't have a business plan to be a disruptor in the industry. I just stayed honest and don't sugarcoat the bullshit. And I tell my story, and somehow it's positioned me to work with the best people in the industries that I've built these projects with. And they're the ones saying, we want to work with you. We'll come work for 60 to 90 days without a paycheck because we trust you and believe in you that much. And I'm like, everybody needs their heads examined right now. I'm like, I don't want to be a business owner. I don't even have a bank. Like, I don't know how to run a company. I know how to not run a company. So next thing you know, I call myself the reluctant ringleader because accidental CEO was taken. I've got the 18.
That's the name of your book. That's the name of your book, Accidental CEO.
It's already taken.
I mean, there's probably more than one book with the same title, right?
Well, that's the whole point. My story's not unique because it's mine. It's everybody's.
But everyone takes a different path or different journey.
But everybody can relate to it because they've got some kind of story in their work life or.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
You got to make it relatable. That's why my videos on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, they work, right? Because, it's relatable. It's why the podcast works. It's because I take like normal everyday people.
Yeah.
I tell their story, right? And or they tell me their story and, we chat. And that's why it works. Relatable sells, right?
And who knew, what started was basically this thought leadership stuff. I fought it. I was like, I know I've got this platform, but it was built on recruiting, which is really the moneymaker. $50,000 for a 6-month contract with LinkedIn Recruiter, staffed a whole California transmission line with it.
What?
Mm-hmm. That I wish I would have known to invest in LinkedIn before it got big.
Is LinkedIn paid you that?
No, fuck no. But the company trusted me enough to get the job done that they've spent $50,000 on a 6-month contract to get LinkedIn Recruiter. And I wound up staffing the Salton transmission line with it. So I had to get California real estate agents with land experience to go work on the border in the most progressive, liberal state in the union. But for 50 grand in a contract with LinkedIn, got it done.
Look at you. Look at you.
It's not a strategy. It's just experience. And I can write about it neatly.
What I've learned about getting people jobs off of TikTok and Instagram is that like you got to be very careful with that, right? Like, yeah, you could staff a whole lease, a whole project from the internet, but you're gonna get a lot of fly-by-nighters. You're gonna get a lot of people that they lie about what they know, and you're gonna get a lot of people that they're gonna come, but they're gonna go just as quick, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of why the political part is such an important role in my story. I studied for 6 years, public relations, how to say things that wouldn't be controversial and, in a way that could relate, but not be, politically inaccurate. So that's kind of how, started out in the political arena and then started negotiating with these masters of negotiating. So it's like I was just being groomed to know how to connect and relate. And these are with 70-year-old title agents I've never met in real life, but talked to for 4 hours about their divorces and their job problems. So it's really just people talking to people and turning it into a work skill.
How do you turn that off when you go out into like a normal public, right? How do you switch that off and become like just Leigh, just regularly, like not like Leigh who's constantly got to be like,
don't ever come to my hometown with me.
Yeah,
it's bad. I don't know. Does it turn off when you get put in these roles that you don't sign up for? Like, Washington didn't want to be president, but he's on a bill now. So that's just kind of the theme I'm rolling with, that the reluctant ringleader that was pushed into this by the very people that I help get jobs for, because they trust me and believe in me. And I don't know what I did that's so different, but this humility tour has been quite the interesting ride. And now
how long has it been going on for?
It's still wrapping up. So, a year and a half. Wow. And I launched Mockingbird as a consulting thing after the last land company, because I wanted to be able to consult on my political and energy experience.
Yeah.
When I joined the human performance company, part of the agreement was I could do the consulting and do the human performance, but I go 100 miles an hour with anything. So I let it die on, go to the wayside so I could learn everything about safety. Then I'm pivoting out of that because of, some bullshit some leader lied about. And I go to the NAPE Expo to interview with an oil and gas podcast about my political experience. Don't know why. I asked them, I said, why? And they were like, you've got a unique story. I haven't been in oil since, for 9-10 months. And that blew the lid off this whole shit show. So here I am exiting the safety company. I got my company that's about a month old, and I've got people trying to tear it down and partner with it at the same time and talk about it and hear the story. It's like it's the wildest ride I've ever been on. They try to shut me up, and now people are giving me a microphone. It's so ironic.
Well, that's just it, right? I go to my sister's wedding here in a couple days, and she asked me to be the MC as well. I'm walking her down the aisle too, right? And it's gonna be a little hard with a boot and a crutch, but whatever, I'm doing it. But she asked me to be the MC, right? Right? Asked me to be the MC. I told her I got a joke to make at the beginning, right? And I was gonna direct it at someone in particular, but she's like, maybe don't direct it at anyone, just say it. It's a good one. And I'm like, I was a little baffled when my sister asked me to be the MC. Most people don't like when I talk. A lot of you have been trying to shut me up.
People are putting me on camera with a microphone. Yeah. Like, that's insane. I talk in circles. I don't feel like I make sense. And now I've got a platform to do it on. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, right?
And all it came from was, some bad leadership and bullshit and building something. And all I did was stay the same.
Well, you know why the bad leadership part. You know why people want you to talk now with the bad leadership part, because there's a crusade against bad leadership now, right?
Apparently, and I'm now trained in it on a
Right.
organizational level. That's the real pivot, the real plot twist.
Because since COVID, right? There's a real push towards especially in blue collar, right? Blue collar. There's a lot of blue collar pride on the internet.
Yeah.
Right?
Who knew linemen were like a thing, a social media thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're electrocuting themselves, trying to TikTok on power lines, but hey, they're getting money for it. Like, who knew?
Who knew? Right. And, there's this crusade where, the people that are, don't like blue collar, have a lot of shit to say against it, are like, well, you're being exploited. How do you feel being exploited? And we're just out here being like, bitch, we're exploiting ourselves now. Who cares? But the crazy part about that is like, yeah, you know what? Fuck the people in charge, right? They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're talking about. And we're here to have fun with that. You know what I mean? And look at you.
Now I can actually consult and get paid to point out the gaps in the leadership and not get punished for it. Hopefully, we'll see. To be determined.
You probably won't. You'll make a lot of enemies, but
that's already that's an unpublished stuff we'll get to on another podcast. But all I know is what not to do. I know how to, I wrote manuals because people got sued, and it's like the chaos controller with a pen and now a microphone.
What's the biggest thing you've learned not to do? Like, you say, I've learned what not to do. Well, what's the biggest lesson of what not to do?
I can tell you, mistake loyalty for, I guess not leadership, but like it's mistake loyalty for like your career. I was loyal to a fault, and I thought the more loyal I could be, the stronger foothold I'd have in the company. Doesn't matter. It's not a, so that's my biggest takeaway. I mean, I'll probably get in trouble for saying all that, but it's okay.
Nah, you don't get in shit. Hey, you own your own company now. You're your own boss. You're the.
I know. I fire myself like 15 times a day.
You're the accidental CEO. You say whatever the fuck you want to say.
I got people trying to build this and tear it down, and I don't even know how I'm gonna pay them. But it's happening, and if I don't do anything else, I'm gonna succeed. I don't, I'll get knocked down, but that's my whole thing.
You get knocked down, but you get up again. You're never gonna
like the Chumbawamba song.
Yeah. Boom. Boom. Do you know what viscosity is? Viscosity is like the thickness of a fluid, right? Like how,
Oh, okay. See, I'm thinking like a sugar cookie with the chocolate on it.
Oh, okay. So where I'm going with is the podcast is sponsored by the Mudman. The Mudman deals in, the viscosity, the thickness of the fluid going down hole on a rig, right?
Yeah.
And the podcast is sponsored by the Mudman, for all your drilling fluid and laboratory testing equipment needs. The Mudman's got your back. He deals in the thickness of your load. How thick is your load?
Well, I came from dirt. My dad owned a land development company. I grew up in dump trucks and dirt, so maybe I could meet this Mudman.
The Mudman. Oh my God! Well, where are you? You're in Louisiana, right?
Mississippi.
You're in Mississippi. The Mudman. What's the oil and gas industry like in Mississippi?
That's really weird you say that, because I've worked in 40 states, built some of the largest and most controversial pipelines in the country, and I'm barely touching this, the industry in Mississippi. But maybe as a female-owned company with a, name after the bird of the state and the political background, and got this diversity thing going for me now. Who knew? Show some ovaries and then you get a female-owned company contract. This, I might just not move from Mississippi and see what I can do here.
Heck yeah. So www.mudmanmarket.com.
Okay.
Check them out. Mudman's the
shit. See how I can build that partnership up.
His name's Brian. He's the shit. I'll tell him about you, right? He's trying to expand everywhere he can, right? He wants to go into Texas and stuff like that. He's up here in Canada right now, but you know, the podcast, the very
Yeah.
beginning, I think we're 14 episodes in. He supplied me with a microphone and a headset and made the audio better.
No scripting when I'm in trouble. I know I'll get fussed at for this, but it feels nice just to say it all out loud on a video.
What's that?
The truth.
Fuck yeah.
Unscripted. I appreciate you giving that platform.
Speak your truth, right? And but a year ago though, Brian, the Mudman, he supplied the laptop which I record on now, the MacBook Pro, and so I don't need the headset or the mic as much anymore. The laptop's pretty good. I'm probably gonna start using it again just to fiddle around with it, see what I can do. I did recently buy a Five Below. Oh my god, I discovered Five Belows on my road trip. Oh my god. Oh my!
I would love to just be able to go blow money on that stuff, but I can't even think about. Oh my god! See, now I'm thinking like as a business owner, what can I blow money on besides conferences and travel? Like it's a whole weird new concept. And I'm like, man, I could get some notebooks. I could blow some major money.
Clipboards. Yeah.
But
what'd you spend your money on before?
Cookies, sugar, let's see, partying, live music. I love live music. I mean, I lived in New Orleans for 10 years in downtown, in the middle of it all. I'm from this beach town, half a block from the water. Katrina was my senior year, town wiped out. But it's a very interesting, like subdivision, they say, of New Orleans. So, Pass Christian Christian's my middle name. Pass Christian, Mississippi is actually named after my great grandfather, who was one of the founding families of the Gulf Coast.
That's cool.
So I'm kind of like Mississippi County royalty, but then I've discovered in this industry that my grandfather, that I didn't know because he died at 53, brought electricity to the county as a lineman before I even had a foothold in this industry. And now I'm building the transmission lines and I know how to keep the people on them safe. And my grandfather launched all of that.
He walked so you could run.
6'6" without a bucket truck, building power lines in Kiln, Mississippi. And that's the whole full circle of it all. It's like the purpose behind it all.
Oh my, that's crazy. I see.
How did I pivot from an underground utility conference to a water expo to an oil and gas event? It's all the same if you know how to talk to people and you treat them like human beings and you listen more than you actually talk, which is funny because my dad always said I could talk paint off a wall. And my mom said I never would take no for an answer. Who knew they'd be job skills?
Who knew? It's like my grandmother used to say, she just died recently, actually. She used to say, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You got to listen twice as much as you speak, right? My
dad always says, he's still alive, so I don't know. I hate quoting him because he enjoys it. But if you're half as smart as you think you are, you'd be twice as smart as you actually were.
Oh, damn. Damn.
Poet laureate of, Hancock County, Mississippi. But growing up in that industry, the land development side, which is very volatile and political, dirt work, dirt pits. I grew up in Tracos. So when I did this for a living, I could talk to the underground utility companies because my dad was the one with the backhoe busting up the pipeline, the power lines underground.
Yeah.
It's all just experience from either childhood now or the past. And I've just learned how to translate it and make it relatable by telling it the truth.
Yeah, there you go. Wow. That's pretty cool when you really stop to think about it, right? Like, man, you come from a long line, especially in that area, right?
Yeah.
Like, good for you. You come from a long line of people
that
made
that island.
Flourish.
Our family owned a barrier island in the Bay of St. Louis, Gulf of Mexico or America, whoever you're talking to. And we were the only descendants to own an island, and the state took it back. But like, damn, I could, fuck this stuff. I'm gonna go treasure hunt and pretend.
Gulf of America.
It named after the wrong animal, Cat Island, and they mistaked raccoons for cats.
I got a question for you. And the podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp, right? But so like with all this stuff that you go through and not, like, how hard is it on the mental health?
I think it depends on, first of all, I wouldn't be able to do this if I couldn't figure out the purpose in all the pain. You've got to figure out your outlet. You've got to talk about it. I don't care if it's with a therapist. I don't care if it's a support group. I swear one of my subsidiaries is going to be a support group for work environment, like work culture. Think about how recent it's been that people have the balls and the platforms to share their stories. A year ago, I wouldn't have put me in front of a keyboard to talk about this stuff, but you have to grow. And, people are like, you're so self-aware, 10 months, 3 companies, you grow up pretty quick. Didn't ask for it, but now I know how to, learn from it and pivot with it. And that's all this is. Talking about it, journaling it. People say, how did you start storytelling? I was a political science major. I was writing intensive classes. Then to, heal through all of this, I was journaling. I was writing this just to get it out and try to cope with it in real time. And who knew the recruiter became the reckoning with a platform on the internet.
I know someone else with a podcast. I wouldn't be surprised after listening to this episode if he reaches out.
That people are going to listen to this. Oh my God, I'm going to be.
I wouldn't be surprised if Gord from the Second Act podcast reaches out to you, right? Because I love that guy. He's near me. This episode is like more along the lines of like, what he would love to have on his, right?
What makes it so lovable? It's like I feel like everybody relates to it. I don't know why people are partnering with me. These multi-million-dollar companies are trying to ride my coattails, and I'm over here a one-person show.
Nobody can relate or communicate with the CEO of a multi-million or billion-dollar company. People can relate to boots on the ground, right? Like you're just your average, everyday normal next door neighbor girl. You know what I mean? And you're going head on in, right? And that's what people can relate with. People can't relate to fucking, what's the guy that owns the Dallas Cowboys? What's his name? Jerry Jones. Who the fuck can relate with Jerry Jones?
I can teach him how to relate.
Yeah, an oil tycoon and owner of the Dallas Cowboys. Who the fuck can relate with that? I own America.
I'm trained in positive reinforcement and 3-part communication, so basically like a self-taught expert on it now. Who knew? Right? And it started in politics, but negotiating pay and job duties and firing people that are the secret success to any pipeline or any energy build out. It's the Jedi, like I said, the Jedi Knights of negotiating, and I got thrown into that industry negotiating with them.
Well, shit,
they were training me and I didn't even realize it.
Is it Mace Windu or Leigh Haas? Your last name or your whole name together sounds like a pretty badass Jedi name.
I mean, that's a good question. I've got so many titles. It's so, we could just add it to the mix and start talking backwards instead of circles.
Hell yeah. Leigh, I don't want to take
the dark side. Don't fear the dark side.
True. They have cookies though.
Right? Yeah, and they do get sequels.
Oh my God! Can you imagine?
And they sound I have a raspy, deep voice, so I mean, I could pull some James Earl Jones shit.
Oh my God! He just died. We're looking for James Earl Jones. He just died. We're looking for a new one.
I mean, I'm in the home state. Maybe I can find him. I am the recruiter.
Nice, Leah. I don't want to take up too much more of your time here. I actually got to go see my mom here soon.
Yes.
I only got one more day before I travel like 2 hours away for the wedding, so I gotta see her a little bit. I really enjoy talking to you. This has been great.
I can talk all day if you don't cut my camera off. So I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And
we're coming back for a part 2.
Oh my gosh,
for sure. But I wrap the podcast up with one last question every time, and Mount Rushmore, a place that I really want to go to.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, has 4 of the most influential people up on the rock, right? Depending on who you talk to. If you could have your own Mount Rushmore, 4 people that you look up to, inspired to be, or that have inspired you to be you, who would be on your Mount Rushmore and why?
Joan of Arc, the ultimate female badass that didn't want the role, but is now, basically a patron saint of badassery. Elvis Presley, another rule breaker and fellow Mississippian, who changed the whole music game and happens to be, making more money now, still dead like all these years. The ultimate entrepreneur and rule breaker.
Shout out to Forrest Gump for teaching
Elvis. I know, right?
His tips,
I know, it's crazy. And now I write about him and people like it. Fellow Mississippians, I'm positioning myself with Elvis. Who knew? Let's see. My mom, the mother of 5 kids, and had the black sheep, that firstborn daughter that paved the way for the other ones. I was enough for her to retire at 1. How many more?
Oh, as many as you want. It's your Mount Rushmore. You could have 4. There's 4 up there, but you could have fucking 10 if you want to, because Mount Rushmore was actually originally. That's why it's so small and there's so much more room up there, right? Originally, the creator of Mount Rushmore, him and his son, had wanted to put more up there. It was going to be a fuck ton of them.
But is Nicolas Cage going to find a hidden treasure in Mount Rushmore? That's the most important question.
That is the question.
Like,
these are the questions.
Forget being on the mount. I want to know what's buried in it.
Oh, shit.
And is Nicolas Cage going to help me find it?
These are the questions. These are the questions.
This is a history minor in action, y'all. This political science degree. I don't care who's on the mountain. I want to know what's buried in it.
Oh, let's blow it up.
With Nicolas Cage as my sidekick.
Yeah, so the guy who started Mount Rushmore, they left room for way more. He went off to, I think he got drafted into a war, and he died.
Yeah.
And his son, upon all that, decided, there's no one that fits the bill to be that great anymore. No one is as great as the original 4, but it was supposed to and meant to have more faces carved into it.
And I think that's really, it's kind of a weird connection, because I keep telling myself, and I say out loud, Washington didn't want to be president, and look at him. He's on the bill and the mountain, and the leader of the, all of it all.
Well, I don't know if you watched Game of Thrones, but it's kind of like Bran, right? The throne goes to those who don't covet it, right? The throne goes to those who don't covet it.
And the ones that remember where they came from.
Fuck yeah.
Not the expert. I know who is. I'm smart enough to figure out how to work with them and talk to them.
Yep.
Really appreciate it. I haven't, gone into Canada yet. I've worked for some Canadian companies, but you ever want to meet in person? I'm ready to take over the whole,
come to Canada,
the US. Why not Canada?
Come to the 51st state. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's rename it too.
Oh my God. What do we name? What would we rename Canada?
Huh. I mean, what the Mockingbird was named to mimic what it learned. So it is kind of like the off-brand US, the US that was built better.
Canadian that. Don't tell
the built better version.
I don't know about all that, but yeah, don't
make sure we don't repeat it and build the better version.
Absolutely. I love that. Leigh, thanks for coming on. I appreciate
Thank you, Dick. It was a real pleasure. Thank you for giving me the space to talk like normal.
Oh, hell yeah. You're coming back on 100%.
You're going to be deposed if I get in any lawsuits, so remember that.
Hey, I'm here for it. You know what all this means is that the government is listening, more downloads. Fuck it.
And the ones that are worried are listening too. So there you go.
Hell yeah. I always like being this at the center or central point of a federal investigation. I love it.
I can't wait to be positioned to talk in court, like as a strategist and, on these claims.
Hell yeah.
Wrote the manual, might as well put it in legal writing too.
Absolutely. Leigh, you stay frosty.
You're going in my book that I'm going to draft, I promise. As soon as I can figure out how to use ChatGPT on purpose.
Oh my God. My sister's like, please don't write my wedding speech using ChatGPT. And I'm like, you know what? I got to figure out how to fucking use
I just procrastinate efficiently.
You know what? I just wrote part of my speech last night.
Yeah.
And I've had like months to do it. And the wedding's 3 days away. And, I don't know what I'm going to.
You have 16 different versions with just a little variation and difference, and then don't post any of it because you overthink it and wind up not streamlining your process and procrastinating. Is that you?
Yeah. Oh, that's me.
Well, what's the ADD version of ChatGPT? How do you streamline that for us?
I don't know. That'd be interesting. By the time this episode comes out, which is this coming Tuesday, the wedding will be over. I'll be pretty much home. People are going to be like, oh my God, how did the speech go? Stay tuned for the next episode of On the Throne podcast to find out just how much I butchered this thing, right? Like it's
God willing and the creek don't rise. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, I hope everyone's too drunk by the time I get around to speaking. So.
Turned up on a Tuesday. I mean, fucking shit up. One podcast in an industry disruption at a time.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Leigh. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Maybe we'll join the United Nations as countries that can unite. That's a political strategy, man.
It is. Oh my God.
Think about that, and I'm gonna leave it on that note.
We're gonna talk.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Have a good one. And hey, Leigh, once again, stay frosty.
Okay.